everyone, in today's video I'm going to be showing you a buildable Frosty the Snowman, and his eyes and his hat come on and off so that if you want to like make him or assemble him, you can. And when I was working on like the concept for this, I thought I can't make the mouth removable. It's too thin. How can I do this? So I ended up mixing a little bit of a concoction, and you'll see what that is, to make it so that his mouth can come and go as well, because I can't have him with just a permanent smile. He has to look like a blank snowman and then be built. I hope you guys like it as much as I do. These types of designs are so much fun to play with and to make and create and then see how they come together. And don't forget to click subscribe to see all my future videos as well.
I'm going to start with the pink star, which was in the Madam Glam advent calendar, and it is such a pigmented, beautiful kind of lavendery pink. I'm going to use my ombre brush to blend that into the color Winter Solstice. And now using Winter Sky, which is a darker shade of gray than Winter Solstice, I'm going to be painting the silhouette of a tree. This reminds me of like the VHS cover of Frosty, if you will. And I'm going to then apply a layer of matte top coat over this whole thing. And now I'm going to use my white acrylic to sculpt Frosty. I want his head to be rather large because we have all of these fun things that we're going to be doing with it. So I'm going to have that take up the majority of the nail. I'm going to place 2 magnets within that first white circle. One of them is going to be to attach the hat. The other is going to be attach the nose and the eyes. After the magnets are in place, I'm going to cover them mostly with another coat of white acrylic. The one for the hat is going to be harder to mask than the one that's going to be for the nose and the eyes. Do your best, but keep in mind that the more you cover your magnets and the more that you hide them, the less magnetic strength they're going to have. So while you do want them to be masked and hidden, you also need them to kind of still be there so that they are useful too. Add a little bit for his shoulders. Whatever length of nail you have, you're going to sculpt more or less of his body potentially. I'm now going to wrap my nail as tightly as I possibly can with some aluminum foil. The great thing with using aluminum foil is you can use your fingernail or some kind of a silicone tool possibly to press in and really conform to the shape of the acrylic underneath. Place a magnet over the top of the one for the hat and over the top of the one for the nose and eyes, and sculpt those pieces. I'm going to start with the hat. So with gray acrylic, sculpt his top hat going up above his head. And like I said, with the foil, the great thing is that you can really conform to the shapes underneath. So as you are sculpting this, you're going to be basing the size, the shape, all of that off of the shape that you can see through the foil. So you can't see any color, but you can get a really good grasp of where everything is just based off of the shape that you can see. It is a little bit trickier, I think, than if you can actually just see it. And depending on how good you are at visualizing, the fact that you can't tell that it's white Frosty underneath, it looks just like a foiled Frosty, it can be a little bit more challenging. The more you practice with this kind of thing, the easier it gets. But I have tried other methods in the past. I know for a while I was trying to use some plastic wrap like saran wrap to get it to go over this, and then you can sculpt on top of the plastic wrap, but the wrap just doesn't sink into the shape of the 3D as well as foil does, and I found the acrylic didn't release as well from it. But if there's a situation where you really need to see the color underneath in order for just your own artistic stuff, if that's how it works for you, or if there's some relevant thing that's happening underneath that you need to be able to see, then that would be an option to try. I'm going to kind of go back and forth between the hat and the eyes and the nose and work on one part of it and then work on the other part, allowing different sections to cure. So I started with the hat, did the gray and the black, then I worked on his eyes, and then I'm going to go back and add the flower. While the eyes cure, then I have a chance to do the flower before I go and do the nose, just like how I was letting the black cure while I did the eyes. It makes it so that you're not just sitting there waiting. If you try to do one whole section and then go to the next whole section, you're going to just be wasting time and just sitting there and being like, okay, are you ready yet? And personally, I don't prefer to do that. You do need to make sure that while you're doing this, that you are sculpting the nose so that it is touching the eyes and that the eyes do touch each other. Normally on Frosty, there is a little bit of a gap between the eyes, but because if you do that, they would each have to have their own magnet, and we don't need to use that many magnets, nor is there enough space to necessarily. You do have to make sure that they are touching. I'm going to peel those pieces off once they're cured, make sure that they fit, and then after they fit, I'm just going to snap off a couple little little straggler pieces off the hat, and then do all of their painting with acrylic paint, the final details on them. I'm going to outline stuff a little bit. I'm going to definitely outline the eyes. Like I said, they don't normally touch, so if you outline them, it'll give them a little bit of a separation, which will make them look more precisely like Frosty. He has a very distinctive look, and in order for him to look like Frosty and not just any old snowman, you need to make sure that you are doing that. On the eyes, it is very awkward to be outlining them like this. It just seems like the lines end up being thicker inevitably than I want them to. But because it's going back and forth between black and white, there's really no issue with painting over the entire interior portion of the eyeball with white paint. In fact, my white paint is a brighter shade of white than my white acrylic, so this will help the eyes stand out from the rest of his body a little bit better. Same thing with the nose. I'm going to paint over the whole nose with red after I outline it. It just, I don't know, the black outlines, I want them to be thinner than they are always usually. So that just gives me the opportunity to adjust them as many times as I want to. After I have both eyes pretty much painted over, as you can see, I completely covered up one of my black lines. So I'm going to be going back and forth and adding that again. Then you're also going to need to add the pupils onto the eyeballs, and then any other little details or highlights that you might want. A little highlight on the nose, little highlights in the pupils. Apply some matte top coat over the eyeballs and the hat, and then do the same amount of outlining on Frosty, which is going to not really be very much. I'm going to use gray just to outline the upper snowball from the body snowball. I'm going to use some white and add a little tiny bit of a highlight to Frosty's body. I'm not going to overdo it. I do want those eyeballs to be brighter than the body, so just a touch of that white is all I need. Using some velvet matte top coat from Madam Glam, I'm going to be mixing in some black thermal pigment. I'm going to place my eyeball on top, or my eyeball set with the nose, on top of my Frosty to gauge where I need to be placing this smile. Use one coat and paint the black of the smile, and then mixing some top coat with some blue of the thermal pigment, and then just a little bit of the black. I'm going to be adding the mouth part, and then when that is cold, it pretty much disappears. I'm going to use my hair dryer to warm it up, and then all of a sudden, voila, you can see his beautiful smile. Add his eyes, add his hat, and there we are. We just built ourselves a Frosty right on the fingernail. I hope you guys love this one as much as I do. Merry Christmas, everybody. This is my last Christmas design of the year, and I will see you soon. Bye!